Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Powerful on Purpose, where we bring you conversations with amazing women who are really using their story to build a business, to live out their mission and their purpose, and at the end of the day, to change the world to be a better place. That's what we're all about here. I am your host, Leslie Capps. I'm the founder of Author in 30, and our motto is let's get the words out of your head and into the world. So super excited to introduce you to today's guest because I think it's going to be a very fun conversation. We had a great time pre-interview. And so looking forward to sharing with you what she does and how she brings it all together, because it was something I was like, now this is interesting, right? So Trish John is the founder of Magical Spaces and a Feng Shui, I'm going to get it right, practitioner, which we're going to talk a little bit about that too, because I was like, it's a hard word. How do we wrap our minds around it? But she is a professional organizer and interior decorator with over 18 years of experience helping people create spaces that support their goals, well-being, and success. Through her unique blend, Trish helps homeowners, entrepreneurs, and realtors transform cluttered or uninspiring spaces into environments that feel aligned, functional, and inviting. So whether she's helping someone create a productive home office, attracting the right buyer, or improve the energy flow of their home, her passion is really about helping people create spaces that truly support the life they want. And I love this topic, right? Because I think we don't talk enough about our space and how it really impacts us. So welcome, Trish. Excited, as you can tell, for today's conversation.
Yes, thank you, Leslie. Thank you for having me. I love talking about feng shui, so I could do this all day long.
Right. Well, I always like to hear how people, what their story is and what brought them to do this. But give us a little bit, because I hear the word feng shui and I kind of have this vague idea. But when you and I talked, I also said, okay, tell me what exactly is that and how does it impact me, right?
So I'll first start with what feng shui is. So I practice black sec feng shui, and it's a more modernized feng shui. I chose that school because it resonates most with me, to be honest, because there are multiple different schools. But feng shui basically is our home is like a vision board, and our home is always telling us what's happening in our life, because it's like a mirror reflection. So it reflects what's going on. So if you're having health issues, that shows up in your home. If you're having money issues, that shows up in your home, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And in feng shui, we have 9 areas on the Bagua map, and they all relate to categories that relate to our life. And that's the feng shui Bagua map. And when you start understanding that your home is trying to tell you, and it's never, the feng shui I practice is never fear-based. It's never about, oh my gosh, something bad's happening, or oh my gosh, if I don't do this, something bad will happen. It's never about that, not in my opinion. It's always about, are you paying attention to what your space is telling you? That's kind of what I look at it as, like, okay, so you're complaining about, say, health issues. So what's happening in that area of your home? Is it actually showing you there's problems? More than likely it is. So maybe we just have to, kind of change whatever's there, tweak the energy a little bit so it actually encourages and supports better health rather than takes away and depletes your energy. That's basically what feng shui is. It's basically understanding that your environment is a mirror of your life, and are you paying attention? Because if you're not, that's the whole key, is if you're not, then let's start paying attention and tweak whatever we have to
do. Yeah, I love that. And so juicy, right? Because then we're saying, let's look, if we don't quite know, so we say something's not working, right? We can also look on the outside for things that are being reflected back to us. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just about paying attention. And then, like I said, making those changes because with feng shui, we deal with energy. Everything is energy, from clothes we wear to the food we eat to the furnishings and decor we have in our home. So if you have something in your space, or you wear a color that has an energy that maybe isn't beneficial to you, then that's what I look at. So I look at it, okay, so these are the things that we're not thrilled about in our lives, right? So non-beneficial, not very happy about. How can we change the energy in our home to support that? whatever you want to happen. So if it's money, so how can we support a better income or more abundance or more love or whatever it is that you're wanting? That's what we're looking at. It's not looking at the negative aspect of it. It's just how can we change that? That's how I look at it. Is how can we change that to make it better and supportive? Because that's the goal, right?
Right? Right? Yeah, super love that. Okay, cool. Now I know everybody's like already eager. They're like, we want to connect with Trish, right? But tell us a little bit how, because you do have a unique blend of bringing things together. And what's the story that sort of led you to go, oh, wait a minute. I love all these different things. How do I combine them to build a business?
Okay. So, I mean, I started back in my 20s many years ago where I kind of felt like, just moved in with my boyfriend at the time and kind of not trying to figure out who I was. Because, when you're in your 20s, hey, when you're in your 50s, you're still trying to figure it out too. But especially when you're under 20, you're young, new relationship, trying to figure out how to become this adult that we're all supposed to be at 20, which most of us are not. So I was looking for something. And I didn't grow up in a religious home, so that wasn't what was pulling me into it. And no disrespect one way or the other, but it wasn't that I needed. But I was always very spiritual. Always grew up with that spiritual feeling, even though, again, that wasn't what I grew up with, but that's what kind of pulled me towards. So, spiritual wise, I saw spirits at a very young age, that type of energy. So that always kind of drew me. So I went and I looked in a library because I really didn't know where else to go because back then nobody talked about stuff like this. And I went to the librarian and asked her, okay, I'm looking for a spiritual type of thing. And I wasn't even sure what we called it. And she's like, okay, I'll show you. And she showed me this spiritual area of the library. And back then, it was like very small compared to now where it's much more. I think it was like one case and it was maybe two shelves, right? She's like, this is what I think you're looking for. So long story short, I found Feng Shui books. But I didn't understand Feng Shui had many, many different schools. So I would be reading all these books. I took like a stack home and I would be devouring them. And I'm like, but this book says this and this book says this. And it was so very confusing. And then I learned there's different schools. They have different ideas of what Feng Shui is. So that took its whole process of understanding that. I started taking courses, again, Black Sec Feng Shui. It's a more of a modern Feng Shui. Professor Lin is the gentleman that started this type of Feng Shui. And, Feng Shui has been around for thousands of years, depending on the school, 3 to 5,000 years. So I believe they know what they're talking about. And because I've experienced with my own life as well as clients, they definitely know what they're talking about. Energy is energy. And Feng Shui is about, like I said, it's about changing it. I want to say manipulating it, but I don't want it to sound like a negative way. You're shifting it to be a better energy for you in whatever way you want to phrase that, right? So
Right.
as the time went on, I kind of realized, 9 to 5 jobs weren't for me. I had children, was married, all the things, bought houses, all the things. Still kept feeling like something was not quite right. Working was not working out for me. It was not something I was enjoying, even though I did the things that I had always done. And then as time went on and my kids got older, I realized, okay, so I really like organizing. That's kind of who I am. I've always been that tidy organizer type of person. So I did that. And then I found more feng shui. I took another course and then I got into interior decorating. And then I kind of just pulled it all together and made magical spaces because it all connects. Like the interior decorating and the organizing is a huge part of feng shui. So it
Right.
just naturally kind of fell into place. They say when you're ready, the teacher will appear. That's literally how things started happening. The professional organizer appeared, the feng shui teacher that I learned, even more advanced information came through. And then interior decorating kind of popped up. It was kind of, when you look at it, kind of funny how things start happening, right? And I think it's because I was believing this is what I want to do. So again, I was ready to expand it. And I did have an organizer business at one time, and I did draw in the feng shui aspect of it. But back then, again, not many people knew what that was. It was hard enough organizing for people because people weren't like, why would we pay somebody for that? Even
Right.
though we knew we needed it, people still were not understanding it. So, you're talking 30 years of bringing this into the force of the real world that people just weren't ready for. But now in 2026, people are definitely more open to all the things that I do. So it's much easier to share that with everybody, right? Yeah.
Right.
So now I just do my business. I absolutely love it. I love working with people that I know that I can make a change for and help them, and more people are open to it. So that's even better. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, in hearing you talk about that, then I understand why all the rest of us out here who have not studied feng shui go, okay, we don't quite get it, right? Because it sounds like there's multiple interpretations and different ways to use it. But the bottom line is it's really about the energy that you're
Every
living
school
in
is.
and you're creating.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's about the energy. And all schools believe that. It's just how they explain it differently. That's all. Right. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I was like, to the uneducated ear, like it all sounds Greek, right? And then you add another layer and you're like, okay, well, I thought it was this, but now it's maybe this. And yeah,
Right. And then you, with the feng shui aspect too, to me, it's whatever resonates with you. And that's why I chose this feng shui, because the other schools I understood to a level, but they didn't really call for me. Like it wasn't really something I could feel me doing or teaching, because I always wanted to be a teacher too. So that was kind of just a natural thing as well. So when I found this type of feng shui, I was like, that makes sense for me. Because again, that's how my mind, because I was organized, I liked interior decorating. That just resonated more with me. So that's kind of why even though I didn't know it back then, that's kind of why I was more drawn to that.
exactly. And can you give us an example of somebody that you worked with and how that transformation came about or what they came to you with? Like, how would someone know? So, I guess there's probably two questions in there, right? But probably the answer is within one. But how would someone know, like, I need to connect with Trish and have her help me tell me what my environment is saying? Or, like, I'm not sure my environment is the best. So, how do I figure that out?
So yeah, okay. So I mean, lots of clients come to me for different different reasons. It can be because their income isn't at the level, like I said, health, it could be relationships, it could be career, all different reasons. But the main idea behind any client that's come to me is that, okay, I've heard of feng shui. They've met me through whatever avenue they have. So, they'll call me and they'll say, so how can you help me? So this is X, Y, and Z is what's happening. How can you help me? How can you make a difference? So I always say, so what's showing up in your life? Are you in constantly bringing the same type of relationship into your life? Are you constantly struggling for money? Is there a health issue that keeps reoccurring? Because those are the things that kind of bing in my head of that's what I have to address. So, I worked with a lot of great clients, and it's funny how they sometimes come to me for, well, they think they need to get organized, and not that they don't, but it ends up being more an energy feng shui aspect that they want. Or they come to me for interior decorating help, and that is part of it as again, but then it comes back to the feng shui aspect of it too, because getting organized and adding interior decorating choices doesn't change, well, it does change the energy, but it doesn't necessarily change the energy to be beneficial. So you'll still feel like something's not right. And that's usually what I get is they say, like, we just redecorated, we renovated, we got organized, and we've done this, and we still don't love our home, or my office still feels off, or there's always something they're, I guess, reaching for or wanting, and they're not sure why after all spending all this time, all this money. And it always comes back to because the energy's off. You've added something or you've taken away something that changed the energy. That's why you're feeling not comfortable, not in love with your home, whatever the answer you're saying to yourself is. So when I work with clients, so I'll give you an example. I worked with a client that they moved into a very small apartment. So they moved from a house to a two-bedroom to a one-bedroom over circumstances. They also moved different states. And she's like, I don't feel comfortable because I'm kind of in my living room, kitchen, kind of office type of feeling. It's uncomfortable. I don't feel comfortable. I don't want to work, but I know I have to, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, so give me the floor plan, show me where everything is, take pictures, send that to me. And the thing that I noticed right off the bat was her seat, so her desk was facing into the living room. Sorry, no, it was in the kitchen. She was partly in the kitchen facing the living room, and her back was to a wall. And then she had to go up and around to get her stuff. Like everything was kind of not in a flow. So I said to her, well, that's why you're feeling so, oh my gosh, I can't get focused. I feel uncomfortable sitting here. And I said, well, those are the reasons. So I said, that's the problem. You're in a kitchen trying to be an office, a CEO of your business. So that's right away telling your energy, this isn't right. This isn't who I am. So it's making her feel uncomfortable. So we end up changing her desk. So we took her out of the kitchen. We put her more in the living room. We got her an actual desk that she could sit at with her chair back to a supported wall. And she was looking out into her space. The only thing was that her door was in line with her chair. And in Feng Shui, we don't recommend that because that energy is coming at her all day long. So we did a little feng shui cure. We kind of pushed the energy back a bit from her so she didn't feel so attacked energetically. And she loves it. She feels perfectly comfortable. She says, I get more done when I'm on camera. I feel confident. I feel empowered. I don't feel like I'm pretending or feeling, that, what's that word?
Imposter?
Imposter syndrome. And she's a coach. So she wasn't feeling that way she should as a CEO and a coach. So moving her positioning of her desk and kind of adjusting how she worked. So her flow of her desk, and it was a small desk because again, limited space. So, a couple of drawers here, nothing here. That was just how it worked because of her space. And she messaged me like a week later and said, oh my God, I can't believe the difference. She said,
Wow.
even my husband commented on it. You look better, you feel better, you don't feel like you're like cramming like a student at her, make believe desk type of energy. So that's what feng shui is looking at the floor plan, looking at how you're situated in whatever situation it is. It can be an office, it could be in the kitchen, it could be even your dining room, doesn't really matter. But if you're not sitting in that command position, we call it, where you're feel the power of the room and you're not kind of snuck up on energetically wise, because she would have been from that position she was in the kitchen. She couldn't see who was coming through the door. So energetically, she was doing this because she was uncomfortable. So that was the change we made. And that is hopefully as easy as I can make you understand that it's just shifting that energy. It's getting you out of the energy that takes away from who you are. And
Right.
sometimes we don't even know who we are, but when you change something, it puts it in your face like this is who I am. I am that CEO. I am that whatever you do for a living. And then it shows you more, it gives you more confidence so you can actually become that person. So it's kind of powerful, right?
Very powerful, right? And it sounds like also too, it's not necessarily huge changes, right? Sometimes it's those small things that we can't really see, or as you said, like she felt really uncomfortable, but she wasn't quite sure why.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I never like as a feng shui practitioner, I never say you have to renovate, you have to redesign your whole home. I'm not that feng shui practitioner. Let's see what we can work with. So even when I say, okay, let's, change the energy of this bookcase, it's what do you have that we can work with? Not let's go buy and spend thousands of dollars that you may not have, or even if you do have it, why keep the stuff you have if you're not going to actually use it? So that's the thing too, is because a lot of people feel they have to go and spend all this money. It's the same as when you get organized. Let's purge the stuff, then organize and decide if you need new containers, a new bookshelf, whatever. Because I truly believe I'm a big thrifter. I love repurposing things too. So I'm always, let's look at what you have space wise as well as items, and let's work with that energy before you make any other major changes. Because usually it's just tweaking that energy. It's changing what you have, where it goes, and like the position of her sitting at her desk, just changing that had a profound impact on how she now feels when she works, which is amazing, right?
Absolutely. You're right. Because now she can be more effective, more confident, like all that is all the things we want, right? When we're in our own business.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
So,
Do you have any, like, I'm curious, so I'm sure my listeners are curious too, because the idea of money, right? Because I think it's huge. There's lots of people talking about money manifestation, all kinds of money things. What do you suggest if someone's saying, okay, I don't know what's wrong, but I'm not getting the flow of money I'd like in? What can I change in my environment?
so I would first say, let's figure out where your money area is. So it's the purple area. It's always when you're sitting at your front door looking inward your home. We're talking the main floor of your home, not the other floors, because that's different. So main floor of your home, you're looking inward. What's in the back left-hand corner? That is your wealth area. So it's either a kitchen, a dining room, depending on what type of home you have. It could be an office. At my other house, it was an office. In this place, it's a bedroom. Depends on what type of home you have, right? So let's just say it's your office. Well, what is there? Is it, clean and organized? Does it represent who you are? Like I commented when we met earlier, I love the beautiful picture behind you. That is amazing energetically for someone that owns their business, especially what you do with the podcast. That is an empowering photo to have behind you because it makes you stand out and it brightens you. I love that, right? So that's what I always look at. So what's in your wealth area? If you're struggling with income, look at that area of your home. Is something in there that's contributing to the positive or the non-beneficial energy? So let's think of that. Okay, so is your desk in the command position? Is it cluttered? Do you have things that are broken and falling apart? Because that's energetically is what's telling your money you're broke and you're falling apart.
Sure.
So you have to think of it. What is the items in that space and what are they saying to the energy? Are they saying, I'm wealthy, I'm abundant, I'm blessed, I'm happy, I'm healthy, all the things about abundance? Because abundance is not just money. Abundance is all the things. Abundance to me is blessings of all kinds, children's, family, mates, whatever the blessings are for you. So is that representation there? Because if it's not there, that's what the first thing I would pay attention to. Because something is contributing to the problem, right?
Right. Exactly.
And it can be simple as, you have a file cabinet and it's stuffed to the gills and it's outdated taxes and it's old clients and it's old energy and it's tired and it needs to be, either recycled or, redone, redecorated. Maybe it needs a paint job. Maybe it needs to be fixed. But if that file cabinet is in your wealth energy, that is representation of what your wealth is. If your office is beautifully decorated and it feels good and there's still a money problem, then I would look at other areas because every room in your home has a wealth area. Every room in your home has all 9 areas. All 9 areas are in every room. So if the main area isn't a problem, then I would look in other areas that also represent that.
Cool. Wow. I,
Yeah,
I know we could go on forever.
you definitely could.
It's so fascinating. I think there is so much to energy. And again, feng shui is one of those, we don't know, like we kind of know, but when you put it in the terms you did, it's much more usable and tangible. Now we're all going to be looking around our own homes and
Right.
checking that out. So
Yes.
I also know that you had a gift for listeners. Do you want to talk about that for a few minutes?
Sure, yes. I offer a complimentary 20-minute session. It's called a space alignment session. And basically, that is, you get on camera with me. We talk about your space, whatever, say it's the office, we'll go to that. And I give you 1 or 2 ideas that I would change to change the energy. And then, of course, if you're interested in knowing more and understanding more about your home or even just the office, I then do consultations. So I can do a full house consultation. And yes, we can do it virtually. It doesn't have to be in person with the modern world that we're in, or I can just do an office or 1 room space. It doesn't really matter. But the complimentary session is basically me explaining what feng shui can do for you, and then looking at whatever space that you bring to me and say, this is what the problems are. How can you help me? And then I give you 1 or 2 suggestions. It's giving you that introduction like we did here, but specifically for your space.
Absolutely. And the other thing, because I just popped in my head and I want you to share with the audience, because you talked about realtors and selling homes.
Yes.
And you had that one example, as I recall, of the tree. Because I think the more examples we give people now, where our brains are going, oh, well, I know what Trish is talking about.
Right. Yeah. So the realtor example is the house was for sale. The realtor did a great job, pricing, all the things, great people that live there. So their energy, of course, is very important as well. But before I even went into the house, always stand across the street from the homes that are being sold. And I pay attention to energy that's like the traffic flow, the energy around it, the energy from neighbors. And one of the first things that I noticed was their tree that they had on their front lawn, which is in line with their door. So that's kind of blocking energy as well. Of course, I didn't tell her to remove the tree because I would not recommend that, especially a beautiful tree. But I did say to her it was overhanging and blocking the address of the home. And actually, it was blocking some of the window that was above the garage, which was, I believe, the kitchen. So I said to her, the realtor, and her husband, energetically, it's a block. You can't move the tree, which obviously that would be the number one thing that I would recommend, but you can trim back the branches so it gives it more an open feeling and a more visible feeling, because the sign is attracting attention, but if they're not quite seeing the real part of the home, which is the address and even the rest of the view, people will look at the sign and go down to the other house that's for sale. It will kind of get that push away energy or blocked energy, shall we say. So when they trimmed back the tree branches, within 7 days they sold the house. It was kind of
right?
amazing. It was
Pretty
like,
amazing. Pretty
yeah, the
amazing.
realtor calls me. He's like, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know this, right?" And he's like, "I know you know, but I just wanted to tell you." And I'm laughing. I'm like, "I know you know, I know, right?" But it was just so funny because that simple energy shift shifted the energy. And like I said, the house was beautiful on its own. It was beautifully staged. So they would have probably sold the home, but fixing that one major thing, and there were other few things we did inside the home, but that one major thing that to me was blocking energy, why wouldn't you do that? Like, to me, why wouldn't you do that?
Total
Energetically,
no brainer.
it is a no-brainer, and that's how they felt too. So the husband went out. I believe that later after we left, he went out and trimmed it. And it wasn't like a big, massive branch. It was no a little section that hung down. And that was the other thing I said. The address of the place was old and rusted and not very in good shape. And I said I would take those down, spray paint them, and stick them back up, which he did do as well. So, because you want to make that place stand out, because there's 15 other houses for sale, right? So you want all the energy and all the positive buyers coming to your home rather than everybody else's. So yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad I thought of that example
glad you
because
did
I
too. Yes.
remember going, oh, that's cool. Well, I know you all will be wanting to connect with Trish because this is such an intriguing idea and super simple shifts that we can do and she can help you facilitate.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I
Well,
love
it
to help.
has been a delight and a pleasure.
Thank you. I love
Yes.
being here. So thank you, Leslie, for that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Really appreciate the time and you sharing your knowledge with us because it's very intriguing. So, and everybody else, be sure and subscribe because you don't want to miss more powerful conversations like this with the great takeaways that you can walk out and start looking at your own environment. Because that's what we're really about here is empowering you so you can empower others in the world and we can make change.
Right. Thank you.